Hey guys, I hope you all are doing good and you all are pretty fine. And I hope you had an amazing day ahead today and I wish you a profitable week ahead, right? So now, looking at this thing particularly, this video is just a quick analysis on gold for the coming week or the options which I'll be looking up for on the gold on higher time frame, right? So let's look at gold on from a higher time frame perspective, right? So here we'll be breaking up down the weekly time frame, the daily and the 4 days time frame, and then little bit price action on the lower time frames like 1 inch or the 30 minute, right? Let's get started up with this video. Now, if you look at this thing particularly, this thing you will see that this week on weekly time frame it just shot up like anything from here, and these were basically all just because of the Russia and Ukraine tensions. We got hit the all-time highs, and now this thing consolidated a little bit on the top, and then it just went back down to tap in these areas of support on the weekly time frame or the areas of demand on the weekly time frame. And now this week, the previous week has ended up pretty much bullish, right? Now, so looking at this thing, this previous week has ended up pretty much bullish, but and this next week, this weekly candle is telling me that we can see some nice buys in these coming weeks, right? But we can't just ignore the fact that the gold has been pushing down from these past 4 weeks, right? It has just been straight away uh, pushing, like melting down and down and down, right? So this was the overall trend still is the bearish trend. It's just the previous weekly candle, which is telling us that it's bouncing off of some of these demand areas or the weekly support areas, and the next candle is kind of breaking, kind of has broken the highs, but now at this point particularly, if you look at this candle, this looks like more of a rejection candle than being a very strong bullish candle, right? Now looking at the daily time frame, right? If you look at this thing particularly, looking at the price action, this is simple. This was a drop, this was pullback, drop, pullback, drop, pullback. Now can be drop again, once again, right? I'll give you more explanation on this drop, right? Like very first thing which I can say here is that these areas, right? These areas, which are the areas of support or resistance for us on the higher time frame, this has been respecting pretty much well here for us, right? Gold had taken support from these areas, broken through these areas, took resistance from these areas, went through these areas, and is now coming again back to these areas. And now this kind of daily candle is again, pretty much rejecting of these areas onto the left hand side, right? Now, looking at this thing, let's go upon the 4 H time frame. Looking at the 4 H time frame, this you can see as a this is one of the resistance, right? The 4 H resistance or the supply level, whatever you want to say, right? So this level has been respected up pretty much well, and this was where I actually executed sales, which I took on from the 30-minute time frame. Once this candle, broke the highs of the previous candle and started breaking lows, that's where I actually executed up the sales. I didn't hold that trade. I closed that at break even almost. But if I would have held this move, would have been amazing. Now let's talk about this on the 4 H time frame, right? So this was our area of concern on the 4 H time frame. All why? All just because this was an area of 4H resistance on to the left hand side or the area of supply cost. And looking at this thing, this is previous resistance also on the 4H time frame, right? Now, I think the picture is a little bit clear for you guys right now looking at this chart, right? This is the resistance on the 4H time frame from the left hand side. This previous resistance, we are getting a nice, lovely fake out from this particular point. The next candle exactly tapping upon that resistance or these areas of resistance onto the left on 4H, and this broke the lows and it's pushing down really well. Now, what do you see in front of you? Looking at this thing here, you see this candle range to the left hand side, right? Might happen that in the coming week we fill these areas or these range to the left hand side and continue moving until these areas, right? Now, the only thing which will be of concern for me will be these level or these areas, like, because price might do something like this. This was a push, this was pullback. This can continue moving up after taking support from these areas to these highs, right? And this makes total sense to us even despite of this fake out. we can see something like this back to the highs there to 1865-ish areas. So we need to be little bit cautious about these areas. So on the lower time frame, so if you look at this thing has been broken this particular level, previous 1852-ish levels, and like looking at this level was a pretty much significant level for us because we just let me try it again. This was a push, a little bit of pullback. This was push, pullback, then again a push. Then right, if it needed to continue up, moving up, it should have respected of this higher low which it had created up previously, right? But this price action, looking at this price action right now, this price action is breaking the previous structure to the left hand side, right? Now price is breaking the previous structures and it's pushing down, kind of tapping on in these areas which are our areas of concern for the 4H time frame, and you can look this at the 30-minute time frame as well, that the price has been fairly taking resistance up from these particular points, right? Now, if we need to continue seeing the cells, what we need to get, basically, for us, this 4H time frame, the very first confirmation is 4H time frame, that this fake out is happening up from this particular resistance. This candle is confirming of this resistance. And now if you look at the 30-minute time frame, if this candle is like going back, and now it's taking some kind of resistance up from this particular area and continuing to move down, this can be an option for us to look for sales. Or else, if you look at the 4H time frame, this thing can easily do something like this, this is a fake out, and this is if this is a valid fake out, it will it will keep the price below these 1857-ish areas, right? So it might happen that we can go up to these areas to retest these previous resistance, and if there's a valid fake out and it needs to continue the selling pressure which we are having right now, then you will see some kind of shells from these areas, and then we can see something like this onto these areas basically, right? So recapping all of this, looking at the forest thing, it kind of looks like it's bearish for me, right? But these areas are the areas of concern for us, because price can start taking support from these areas, right? So we need to see how price reacts to these areas, which is like the 1850 areas for us. The 1850 key level will be very, very strong key level for us, looking at this thing particularly right now. And the next thing which we should be worried about should be the price staying below this 1857 range, right? Once this is staying below this 1857 range, we can still see sales. But if price is closing above these levels, then maybe we can continue moving up or back to these highs, and can continue the bullish move which we are doing right now. So kind of I'm looking up for sales tomorrow if this candle is still closing below these 1857 areas and respecting these areas. And only areas of concern for me will be the 1850s areas. And once price is taking out these 1850s, then we can get some nice sell off for filling up this range to the left hand side. If you look at the 4H time frame, we are pretty much having a clean range to the downside for us. And from that point, if we need to see some buys printing, then we will see something like this. Or if the trend is going to be bearish, then something like this makes a lot of sense to me, right? So this is something which I'll be looking up on gold in coming days or week. I hope this analysis video helped you guys a little bit, and let me know what do you think about gold based on these things. So I'm stopping up the recording, and now if you have any doubt, so you can ask me upon Telegram, or you can ask in the group. So or else feel free to comment down below the video. And I hope you guys had a profitable day today, and I wish you guys a very, very profitable week ahead. So see you soon.